Kids, good evening. Today is my second installment of my new mini-series, or my new series, Church. This is Church 2. Today we're going to talk about charity. Now, as you may have noticed, I don't know if I'm alive or dead. I have kind of bluish things going on and reddish things, so maybe I'm in transition from life to death, who knows. But today, let's not divert from that. Let's talk about charity. Are you ready? Sit down in your pews. And Clergyman Michael's going to talk about charity. Where does charity begin? Charity begins at home. At home, in your own home. With yourself. You have to be charitable with yourself. You have to love yourself. You have to take care of yourself. Without doing that, you can take care of no one else. That is the first and foremost thing. You must be charitable to yourself. Now, that's a hard thing for many people to learn, much harder than it sounds, because there are a lot of self-loathing people out there, or people that don't want to deal with their own issues. Therefore, they throw their attention onto everyone else and just not deal with them, and they let themselves go to hell, and eventually the whole thing collapses around them. Now, once you've managed to be charitable to yourself and love yourself and take care of yourself and buy yourself something pretty once in a while, or at least go out and pick yourself a nice flowering weed from the empty lot across the street, or whatever. It doesn't have to cost a lot. You just have to be nice to yourself and love yourself. Now, most people, once they get past that, most people like to have a relationship. After all, indiscriminate, no-name back alley sex can only be so exciting for so many years in your life before you maybe want to settle down and date, and then maybe want to date like something serious, or perhaps form some sort of relationship, whether it be an open relationship, a monogamous relationship, whether it be a live-in situation or a non-live-in situation, or even a long-distance situation. You want to form some sort of relationship, and that loving relationship. Now, then charity still is at home, because you have to be charitable with your partner. Because unfortunately, at least for people my age, maybe a little bit older and definitely younger, there is no perfection. Disney has just totally put its dick in one ear and out the other, and totally mind-screwed America and the rest of the world, thinking there is a perfect relationship out there. I just have to sit back and wait. That's not how it works. Relationships are a lot of work. You're never going to find perfection, and you yourself are never going to be the perfect anything for anyone. So don't sit on your butt thinking that you're all that, because you're really not. Because the minute you sit on your butt, you're definitely not. Just try to make that clear. At this church, we talk honesty. We talk real. So then you have to be charitable and give in your relationship. And I mean, that's a lot to ask, especially in this day and age when people just throw everything away and everything just seems to be disposable. Friendships, relationships, and everything else. And I'll give you a hint. The older you get, the harder it gets to do that. When you are 13 and you fall in love for the first time, and it's if you can hold on to that feeling for the rest of your life, you'd be very lucky. And if two people could do that together, it would be magical. And I've seen it happen, and it is possible, but most of the time, that's not how it works out. About 99.999% of the time, that's not how it works out. And the older you get, and the more times you've been through the rinse cycle, the more jaded and bitter you get, the less you'll even be able to make friends, or trust anybody enough to make a friend, let alone a partner. That's just the truth. I mean, if you get to be middle-aged and you find yourself single, you're going to be very emotional. You're going to have emotional baggage, so much so that you'll make Rose boarding the Titanic look like an economy traveler on Spirit with a paper bag. That's just the facts. So keep that in mind. Keep an open mind. And again, If you're charitable first with yourself and then your relationship, you shall never have to worry about any of that. And that goes both ways in a relationship. So make sure your partner is being charitable too. And if they're not, make sure you speak up and ask for what you want, or ask for what you think you need, and discuss it. And be ready to hear no sometimes, because sometimes the answer is just no. You don't always get everything in the world you want anytime you want at a snap of the finger. This is not Overboard. And if you don't know what that is, check it out, Google it, and then watch the movie. Meanwhile, now we move on to charity outside the home. Okay, we've already have our relationship. Of course, everyone dotes on their children, or most everyone, unless they eat them, kill them, drown them, burn them, or whatever, which happens occasionally, or much more than we'd like to believe. But children, I'm going to kind of leave out of this circumstance, because you're supposed to be charitable with your children, and if you're not, you're just pure evil, and you'll learn. You'll just rot in hell, or they'll hate you, or even worse, they'll torment you, because children are good at tormenting, especially when they're not getting what they need. I know, trust me. So clever little things they are. So now we're going to charity outside of the home. Outside of the home, charity starts in your neighborhood. Being nice to your neighbors, or being helpful, reach out, do something in your community if you can. It's not just about writing a check for the last major tsunami or earthquake in Haiti and sending in $10 and patting yourself on the back and then getting on Facebook and telling everybody what a big hero you are because you donated. That's not charity. That's self-grandizing. Charity is never spoken about. You don't talk about it. That's the big key to being charitable and not a douchebag, is that you don't talk about it. You just do it. And you get it done. So if you go to church and you want to make a donation in the donation plate, or you want to bake a casserole, or you want to help feed the homeless or something like that, do that quietly. And don't run around advertising all the wonderful things that you do for everyone, because you're just so amazing. Because the minute you do that, you've just taken all the charity out of the charity and you've turned it into the you show. And look how wonderful you are. And that's not charity. That's the you show, and it's just a selfish act. And that's just to make yourself feel better. Now, truly, on that same subject of making yourself feel better, charity is not for that. Charity is not to make you feel better. Charity is to make someone else feel better, unless, of course, you're working on you. But it's not to make you feel superior to someone else, or make you feel glad that you're not someone else, or you have pity on someone else. It's not a pity party. Charity is not so that you can extol pity on anyone else. Charity is there to be given freely out of love, and love requires nothing. Right? Right. So that's my deal on charity. I'm glad you stopped and listened. I hope you have a great weekend. Thank you for continuing to watch my church installments. And I hope that you all have a charitable week with each other and others besides that. Have a good one. Thanks for stopping by.